Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Now looking straight in front of you, you're probably wondering what the heck are you looking at right now. But these are some brand new bootleg figures of the Papo Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now there are tons and tons of these bootleg figures out there. So that the original standing Papo T-Rex has been bootlegged like 6 billion times. There's just tons of different versions, some with articulated jaws, some without. Some with crazy paint jobs, some with the exact same paint job basically that you get with the original figure. So I don't normally ever review those guys because they're just generic knockoff versions of the originals. So for me to review a bootleg figure, a knockoff figure, there's got to be something a little different. Now these ones here are definitely a little different from the original. So let's get a closer look and I'll explain more. First of all, you can see that the sculpt is really pretty much the same as far as the head goes with the Papo T-Rex, but the detail is a little more jumbled. It's not quite as obvious in my opinion. Because of them bootlegging it, it doesn't look near as good in my opinion. The detail is definitely lost and it just kind of has a very strange look to it. I'm not sure what it is exactly, I can't quite put my finger on it, but the overall texture of the sculpt, it just looks very strange to me. I don't know why. But either way, you can also tell that the paint is really sloppily done on these guys. You can see that the eye actually looks really bad. The teeth have been painted so sloppily that some teeth have paint, some don't. And this upper part of the jaw here, they basically just painted over the jaw with the teeth. So they look pretty bad overall, definitely. And it's both eyes on both sides. You can see that the eye is pretty sloppily painted all around the eye, and I feel like that the coloration that they used for the eye with this gold is so dark that with the darker spot around the eye like the Papo Rex does have, it doesn't look very good because the eye isn't very elaborated since you didn't use a lighter color. Well, they didn't, not you, but they didn't use a lighter color, so it's really harder to see the eye. So I actually think I'm going to repaint the eyes and the teeth on these guys to see if they look a little better, because there are some redeeming factors of this figure. I do like the paint on this one. I feel like it's pretty nicely done, aside from the mouth and the eyes, because the other overall color scheme, it's like this brown, but there's a nice, basically like a green dry brushing that's been put over it, all over the body. And I do kind of like the coloration of it. I'm not sure why, but something about it just looks kind of neat to me. There is, however, a very big and ugly seam right here in the center of the figure. And then there's this strange area right here. I don't know why that's there. I have no idea. Maybe that was just part of the bootlegging process. It is a hollow figure. It's not super heavy. It's pretty light, but it's actually quite a bit bigger than the original Papo Rex. And you can see that they have resculpted the tail. So now it's curved and longer than it was on the original one. So that's one of the redeeming factors of this figure, is the fact that it is slightly resculpted and does look a little different. For some reason they just have a very dark and evil look to me. That's basically the feeling I get by looking at them. The paint, like I said, it's not that nicely done. You can see the nails on the feet are painted in black and they have a nice gloss on them, as well as the claws on the fingers here. Also having nice black with a gloss over them. So it's cool that they did put that on there. Add a little gloss to their figures on their nails. So there are some areas that look pretty nice as far as the paint. I really do like the look of it. But then there's some areas that just look really bad, like the face. Pretty much the entire face area. The tongue's painted fairly like a realistic type of a color, but you can see it's super sloppy in there. And I don't really like this strange like maroon purplish pig, I don't even know what color that is, but it's a weird color on the inside of the mouth. So I think I'm probably going to repaint the teeth and repaint the inside of the mouth and repaint the eyes, and then this thing actually might look kind of cool. There's also a green version, which just like the Papo Rexes, there's a green and a brown, and you've got that here with these knockoff versions. I actually like the coloration of the teeth a little more on this one. I don't know why. I guess it's more of a realistic color with the yellow-orange type of a look that it has, but the only downside is they are also very sloppily painted. Some teeth don't even really look like they have much paint at all, and others look like they're flooded with paint. Same deal for the inside of the mouth. You can see that the tongue is painted a fairly realistic color, but it's also sloppily done. The overall color of the inside of the mouth is more like a purple color, which I am also not a huge fan of. The paint on the face of this one is also sloppily done in general. As you can see that there are some random white splotches of paint here and there. And the eyes are really sloppy on this one. They're at least a brighter color on this one, but they're so sloppily done that I just can't even get past it. This one doesn't even look like it barely has a pupil at all. So again, something that I might also just fix on this guy. And then maybe I'll let you guys see what they look like afterwards. You can tell me if you like them before or after better. As far as the sculpt and texture, it's exactly the same as the other one. It is the exact same figure, completely. Again, enlarged from the original, and with this bigger, longer, more curved tail. Also has this seam in the stomach region, and this weird area on the underneath. But it is very nicely painted otherwise. Again, it has a nice dry brushing. You can really see the dry brushing that's done here to the feet and the leg area. I feel like that the paint in certain areas just looks really nice, and then in other areas just looks really bad. You can, for some reason, see a pretty big seam on the arms here, where the arms have been added onto the figure. The other one also has that. And the nails are painted with a gloss on this one, except the nails are gray as opposed to black, which is what we saw in the other figure. So again, it's pretty cool just because it's different than the original, and it's larger, and just has a very evil, for some reason, look to it. I don't know why. It just looks very evil to me. But it's also very sloppily done, so maybe when I do those touch-ups, it might look a little better. One plus side to this figure, though, as you can see looking at it here, is it can actually stand, and it can stand with its tail off the ground. So that's one addition to this figure that honestly is a little bit of a plus over the original figure, as the original really balances on its tail. But somehow these bootleggers have found a way to get this figure to actually stand with its tail off the ground, even if it is close to being in a tripod position. The other thing that I think is a little bit cooler about this one is the teeth look much sharper on this one than they do on the original figure. So I really do like that, as the teeth then look more real. They are a little sharper feeling, so if you do buy these for your kids, you might want to be a little more careful with the mouth area. But again, with bootleg figures, you have to be very careful because you never know what they're made of as far as paint goes. Sometimes I've heard a lot of horror stories about the paints in China that the bootleggers use for these figures being potentially hazardous, so you also have to be very careful when handling these figures. Again, I don't know for sure if they're all that way, but some most likely are potentially hazardous. I'd like to think we're probably, hopefully, moving past that point now, but you never know. Still, just be very careful when handling them, and always wash your hands afterwards. As far as the size goes on this guy, from the tail to the head, or the head to the tail, you're looking at almost a foot long, and height-wise, a little over 6.5, almost 7 inches tall. And for a size comparison, we'll bring in the dinosaur that I'm sure you're quite interested to see next to this guy, and it is the Papo-T-Rex. Now you can see looking right there that this newer version, this bootleg version, is quite a bit bigger and is slightly altered in its stance, and the head is definitely larger than the original Papo. You can see right there, and you can kind of get an idea of why I think that the newer version has a very evil appearance to it, as opposed to the older one looking much friendlier and much kinder, even though he kind of has a bad attitude on some days. But either way, I really do like these newer bootleg versions just because they are different, and I love to have different variations of figures that I do already have. But clearly the Papo is definitely the superior figure. As far as detail, paint, everything goes, it looks way nicer than these newer knockoff versions. Regardless though of the loss of sculpting detail and all that when this thing was bootlegged, it does, like I said, it doesn't look near as good as the Papo original, but I still feel like they do have their own little charm, and they are quite interesting. They're a little bit ugly, but they're a little bit cool. It's kind of a toss-up. So it's up to you guys if you do want to buy one of these guys, or both. I will link you in the description as to where you can purchase them. As I mentioned, I do really kind of like them with the strange, evil appearance, even though they definitely have some cheap factors to them, like the weird seam in the middle and that strange underbelly, and the very, very sloppy paint on the faces. But otherwise, I think that they're kind of cool. Maybe like the evil cousin of the Papo-T-Rex. But regardless, like I said, I'll link you guys in the description, and I will go ahead and repaint the mouths and the eyes and the teeth probably on these guys to see if I can make them look a little bit nicer than they do currently. And I'll let you guys see, and you can tell me which one you like better. But until then, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.